have 30 years of IT experience spanning from private industry into higher education and now into state service. Part of my experience has always been to be a servant leader when I was in healthcare, and then I got into higher ed, and honestly it's a passion you have or you don't have, and I found that I absolutely have it. So part of that passion, bringing it into the state service, was allowing me to be able to serve the citizens of my state. I'm also a native Nevadan, and there's fewer and fewer of us that live there nowadays, but in being a native Nevadan, it allows me the opportunity to understand what I need to do for our citizens and our residents, and that is something that I'm very passionate about and I'm very proud of. I have a very large department that has wonderful people in it, and we have, just as all states have been hit by the economic downturn, Nevada was also hit very hard actually by the economic downturn. And for our department as a whole, we really need to refresh and upgrade, and specifically from our network on up. So that's a big part of what we need to get accomplished in the last little bit. The other side is honestly, we need to refresh some of our applications. We've got some applications that are definitely aged, and we need to refresh them, update them, get them more into the new era. And it's kind of funny coming from higher education where students absolutely expect the latest and greatest. Moving to the state was an interesting adventure because we don't have the latest and greatest. So trying to get us there is a big part of what we'll be doing. You know, one of the things that I had the opportunity to do in higher education was do a lot of collaboration. And collaboration is kind of an interesting thing within the state sector, because we don't necessarily collaborate with different agencies, much less different organizations. And so what I'm actually doing is working together with all the CIOs for all the cities and all of the counties and seeing what we can pull together from a cyber standpoint and also from a procurement standpoint. Again, coming from private industry, we all know buying power comes with quantity, and so trying to get larger quantity, better buying power. So I had that opportunity in higher education to pull together 8 institutions and be able to work together and have one student ID and that type of thing. So I'm trying to bring that also into the state. And it's honestly very exciting. I have a couple meetings set up in May with all the CIOs from the north and then from the south. As I'm sure you may or may not know, my state is definitely northern and southern, and we have a lot in between of rural, and we have a lot of very rural in between. And so I'm trying to also see what we can do to get those folks connected, whether it be broadband, telehealth, telemedicine, anything to do with our K-21 initiatives that our governor has, that type of stuff that we can do from a technology standpoint. So not only am I working with our CIOs, but I'm also working with some of our partners as far as our service providers. So whether that be phone service providers, energy service providers, we're working together with that to try to pull the whole thing together. I really hope that within a year that I will have done a lot of collaboration within our cities and our counties and our states, and I would have hoped that I've gotten a lot of other stuff done, but my biennium doesn't start until July 1st for my new one as far as for budget. And as I've mentioned, you know, budget has been an issue for us. And so I really think that we can do collaboration and I can do procurement type of thing. And I also am hoping that I will have accomplished some more cybersecurity goals that I have a whole holistic approach on, that I'm just starting to engage in right now. So I'm hoping I will have accomplished a few of those things also. You know, priorities, as I mentioned before, with the budget having been cut as it was, one of the big things that I do need to do instantly, as soon as the new biennium money comes in, and we're slowly but surely doing it right now as we can find money, is upgrade our network. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing, as I mentioned before, is trying to get all of our rural areas connected. So telehealth, trying to get some more education through the internet out there and with a broadband perspective, as opposed to dial-up. I mean, when I say we have remote, we have a lot of mountainous remote. And we have a new microwave system that we're putting in place, and that's basically how we are able to communicate with people, is it's microwaves. It's not through fiber, it's not through broadband. So we're doing a whole new microwave systems that we're putting up right now. That would be fantastic. And again, my refresh on my CJIS compliance stuff. So a lot of my criminal justice, we are doing a large refresh on that also. So those are the biggies, and they're big. And cybersecurity, of course, overlooms all of it. type of thing. And again, I really am trying to do more of a procurement approach for my state and local. The biggest challenge is, honestly, is getting folks that have education that want to work in the state, that want to stay in the state. And it's not that it's a bad part, but as we are all talking, when you work with, and I did coming out of higher education after 11 years, students don't necessarily want to take a job and plan on staying there forever. At this point in time, the 20-somethings, that's not what they're thinking. They're more thinking, let me go here for 2 years, 3 years, so I need to rethink how we're going to do our workforce so that we actually can pick up those students. So that's one of my largest challenges right now. I have 40% of my staff retiring in the next 3 years. And that's a very daunting challenge. And we have a lot of old technology, and those skill sets are not being taught anywhere. So we've got to grow our own. So that's a big challenge that I have, is growing our own employees and also being able to see what we can do with the new stuff. And we need to be very proactive with that. I would love to see where maybe we could have more of a, not only just to grow your own, but what I'm really looking for is a way for our students and our new employees to be able to jump in, jump out, do what they need to do, learn something at the state, take that elsewhere, and then maybe they'll want to come back. And that would be fantastic for us. But we want to be able to not only help educate our workforce, but then allow them to give back. Because we're finding that we tend to hire a workforce that's a little bit older because you've been out there and you've done the private sector thing and it's fantastic, but then you're missing something, and it's that servant leadership that I spoke about earlier. You just want to do it. And so maybe that's when we bring them back. So if we do internships with them and then they come back, would be fantastic if we could pull that off. It'd be fantastic, or better, if we could actually keep them the entire time, but I think that's going to be harder with today's workforce. They just want to move around and do what they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I need to set up a place where they can do that, where they can come in and help us, but we can help them also. So that's one of my big challenges that I'll be working on.